Hello, today we're going to look at flush draws. Fascinating combos they are, from pre-flop to river, often misplayed, sometimes overrated, sometimes underrated, from recreationals to professionals alike. So today we will focus at one spot. It's single raise pot, button c-bet small, and we decide whether we call or we re-raise a flush draw. If you would like to see a video about flush draws in a different spot, please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, this is the spot we are going to learn. I have good news for those of you who have little time, who don't like to watch a full video. In the beginning of this video, I will tell you a few heuristics that are very easy to remember, and if you remember those, you will already start playing your flush draws a lot better in this situation. For those of you more interested with more time, who will watch the whole video, at the second part I will prove basically that the heuristics I'm saying in the first part are correct. Here, for example, you see ace king 2 with a flush draw. Do you know whether you check raise a lot or not? Think about it. What flush draws do you check raise? What do you call? Now let's look at the second flop. King 6-4 with a flush draw. What do you do with the same hand, 10-8 suited? Do you check raise or check call? What changes from the first to the second flop if you hold the same 10-8 suited? Well, the flop changes. So the first key point for you to decide how much you check raise a flush draw is the board texture. Look at the overall check raise frequency for the board, not just flush draws. Generally, how much do you need to check raise for this board? Do you know? If not, you need to study board textures. On some boards we check raise more, on some less. The ones we check raise more, our flush draws will also check raise more. Let's have a look at the third flop. 8-8-2, flush draw paired. Is this a board you check raise a lot or not? If yes, then your combo of flush draws will check raise more. This is the first point, board textures. The second point you need to decide is, what flush draw do you have? Usually the higher flush draws raise more. So if you have a king high or a queen high flush draw, you raise more than if you have a 10 high, 9 high, 7 high flush draw. Second heuristic. But be careful, the ace high flush draw doesn't always raise more than the king high flush draw. This is because ace highs are often already a decent hand, so there's no real need to bluff it. You can just check call, because on a lot of boards the ace high card is a strong value hand. It's relatively up your range, so no need to bluff this one. Now the third heuristics. I said that the higher the flush draw, the more you check raise. The third heuristic is the more distance, the larger gap between the two cards, the more you raise. So if you have a king, queen, or if you 3-bet, don't know your strategy pre-flop, king, jack, king 10 suited will raise less than king 2 suited, for example. So the larger the gap, queen 5, okay, in this case queen 5 is not possible, but queen 7 will usually re-raise more than queen 10 or queen jack suited. The larger the gap, the more you re-raise this combo. Be careful though, the first point is fundamental. So before saying the fourth heuristic, I'm already starting with the first flop here. Ace king 2 with a flush draw is a board you do not check raise much. You check raise 5% of the time for the large size, 2% of the time, or a little bit more for the small size. Not getting into detail about small and large check raising here, but generally on ace high boards you check raise large more often than not. When it's a board you do not check raise much, like on this one, of course I'm being comparatively. I'm saying this combo you check raise more than the other. This doesn't mean you're going to check raise all of the combos where there's a large gap and none of the combos where there's a small gap. It's just more often than that. But when your overall check raising frequency is low, even the good combos to check raise, like this one you see, they call 82% of the time. So keep this in mind. I'm going to scroll down now that you see that the 10 high here, you see 9 high is calling 90% of the time. Look at the right, the column, 92%, etc. So you saw that the larger flush draws, they call less and check raise a little bit more. But keep in mind, while I show you here the low ones, they check raise little. Here this queen 3 is calling a lot. So it's just a heuristic to simplify your life. It's not that it's always like this. The queen high, again, similar to the ace high I said, when it's a nut flush draw, then you will sometimes have a decent enough hand to call. And also on specific boards, the blockers to their continuing range can change. So sometimes in a specific board they fold a lot of tens, so when you contain a 10, the 10 is a lot worse than the jack, for example, etc. It will always depend. What I'm giving you are general heuristics, and if you paid attention to me scrolling, you will already see my fourth heuristic. Let's have a look here in the filters to confirm the combo draw. While I was showing you the small ones, go back to the video if you didn't see it. 4-3 suited, 5-3 suited, they can make the straight. They have a gut shot to the straight. So whenever you have an additional draw, you check raise them more frequently than if there's nothing additional. So this is the fourth heuristic, and now let's have a look at the second board, and you will see that this is quite similar here. Please have a look to your right, and you will see that this board check raises more than the board before. It's a very average amount here, 9% for the smaller sizes and almost 5% for the larger size. And you can see on the filters to the right that the combo draw is by far the combo that check raises more than any other flush draw. And here we have the particularity of 5-7 suited, which is straight plus flush draw. Let's have a look here at the combos again, so you can see the general heuristic. The king high flush draw here is a bit different because it's top pair also, but then you can see now jack 10 high is check raising or calling more than the other ones. 9 high is again calling more, etc. But then whenever there's something backdoor, gut shot or straight draw going on, you call less and check raise more. I'm not sure if you use an RNG, you who are watching. Important to notice is, I'm repeating myself, I'm comparing the amount of times you check raise to the amount of times you check raise the other combo. This doesn't mean to always check raise one combo and never check raise the other combo. Maybe an RNG helps for more advanced players. If you are not that advanced, just get a feeling for this and then you kind of know the spot works. In real life, both options are the same EV, so you can kind of choose what you do, but it's important to already have this idea. Now please look at the third board, 8-8-2 paired boards. Many people don't know it usually requires quite a lot of check raising, and for the smaller size you can see here 23% of the times you have to find a check raise. Keep in mind though, whenever I'm talking about the strategies, even on this board that check raises a lot, you see it is mixed strategies. It's never a situation where you check raise all flush draws or check call all flush draws. This has impacts on your turn strategy as well. Many people check raise a flush draw, the turn comes a flush, and they think they now can always bet. Since you call a lot of flush draws, it's not that you have that much of an advantage when the turn hits a flush. So on the turn, there's a strategy to know which flushes to check and which flushes to keep barreling. Now let's look at the frequencies again for each combos. Please focus on the right, obviously only the flush draw combo, the higher combos, because we're looking at flush draws. And you notice the heuristics are a general idea, but it's not like there's no exceptions and you can follow it blindly. The larger the card, the more you check raise, the smaller. It's not like this. I told you about the combo draws here, the small, very small flush draws usually check raise a decent amount of times. And you need to look at the particularity of a board. You see the paired boards, there's not that many pairs to be made. So ace highs or even the very good king highs like king jack, king 10 are quite up our range, so calling is enough. And it always depends with what you're blocking. So when you check raise a bluff, you always want them to fold, obviously. So when you block folds and unblock their continuing ranges, all this matters. The heuristics I'm telling you is, if you haven't studied check raising flush draws profoundly yet, you have a first idea of generally how it works. You can see here, especially the queen 4, queen 5 are check raising a lot more than the queen 9, queen 10, queen jack especially. So king jack, king 10, queen jack on this board suited, they call quite a lot. So please let heuristics be a tool to you to help you memorize things, but don't think there are no exceptions and it's always exactly like the heuristic. Keep in mind the heuristics and then study by yourself. Take this board again, look at the filters. What about the flush draw with the nuts? What about the lower flush draws? You can see the frequencies for all of them and do your own study. The heuristic is a first step, and then the more advanced you get, the more you can see exactly how one particular board texture works. That can be a little bit different sometimes. So to finish this video, I'm scrolling here and letting you to keep in mind, like in the last board we saw, the King Jack, King 10 flush draws usually call quite a lot compared to King 4, King 3, King 2. So when applying the heuristic of the larger flush draws check raise more than the lower ones, keep this in mind, that the larger when it's a low card and a high card. So here the King Jack, King 10 calling a lot, and then when you look on the right, the King 4 suited, again the combo draw, the 4 makes the flush draw, is a lot of raising, and then King 3, King 2, King 5 always raise more than those larger with two large cards. But the most important heuristic I'd say was that the combo draws check raise most. So you see whenever the 4 is involved, or even the 7 with the gut shot, you check raise them more, and when the straight is already there, so you have a straight plus a flush draw, then you are very aggressive. So the 4-2 suited here you see is always raising. And now to finish this video, keep one thing in mind. It's impossible to always remember the exact frequencies, and sometimes it's not even logic. Look at the Jack 10 suited, for example. It's always raising. Why is Jack 10 suited always raising? I don't even know. Like, I'd have to think about blockers and those sort of things. But there are things I cannot explain. So the most important is go here on this GTO Wizard filter, look at the boards. You can filter for the ones you check raise most, least, for the larger size, smaller sizes, and then you filter paired boards, connected boards with a straight draw, etc. Understanding the board textures and then knowing roughly the frequencies for the board, then you can already estimate for most flush draws how often you're supposed to call and raise. But you will never get every combo exactly correct, and it doesn't matter. Remember, when an option is mixed, the EV for calling and raising is the same. So what you need to consider more is to get somewhat in a correct balanced range, but depending on your opponent, it even makes sense to raise more if you feel like they're overfolding. So don't panic if you find this overwhelming, too many numbers. Just get a general idea and you will be relatively fine. Thank you for watching this video. If you like the platform of GTO Wizard, just purchase it using my link, 10% off, the link here in the YouTube description. Please contact me to talk about this video, about any other video, or if you want to be coached, please just message me and I'll return to you, be it via email, Instagram or Discord. See you in the next one.